So tonight we actually have the pleasure of bringing on a new board member, a little bit different than obviously after the election. So this is going to be replacing Bob's old seat. So could I invite Mr. Joe Vecchio? Come on up. Was you giving it to him?
No, you have to. You're the president. I'm
Okay.
gonna get it out for you. Where do you want it at?
More in the front.
I'm not sure what it's called. Okay, yeah, no, yeah, just break it up for me. You know, break it up into columns.
Yep.
It repeats that where it says, oh, there's like a thought. They don't have to like that, but he puts his name. You get it, it's back, you know. All right, how are you? Good. Good. Good.
All right. Hi, Joe. All right, just raise your hand. We're going to break this up. I, Joe Vecchio,
I, Joe Vecchio,
swear that I will support,
swear that I will support,
obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States
obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and that I will discharge
and that I will discharge
the duties of my office
the duties of my office
with full fidelity. I can't read it.
fidelity, yes.
With fidelity.
With full fidelity.
Anything, it doesn't have anything after.
That's it.
That's it. That's it.
Period.
Sit down, enjoy.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you all. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Actually, Joe, it's not on here, but I would like to give you a couple of seconds if you want to say anything to the community, because obviously this is your first time talking to them.
I'd just like to say thank you for welcoming me tonight. I think I bring a pretty good perspective to the board, having one son that graduated through here in the Pottsgrove School District. I also had one son graduate from Pope John Paul about 4 years ago also. So I have the public education, private education, and as a career and technology center shop teacher that I teach computer networking and computer repair, that I bring a great wealth of knowledge from the CTC standpoint also. So I'm looking forward to try to move Pottsgrove forward with anything that I can help with. So thank you very much for welcoming.
Thank you. All right, we're going to go with executive session announcements. I need to announce that we had an executive session, which was held on Monday, October 18th, 2021, to discuss safety. And then we're going to move on to public comment. Do I have any public comment about agenda items? I know we got these. We'll get these at the end, of course. Anything about agenda items? Anybody online? All right, we're going to move to the report of the superintendent. One hand. Okay, go ahead.
It's just, I'm trying to get to everything and there's like a weird lag.
Can you
They have
please
name.
say your name and your township of residence, please?
Jeanette Clifton, Lower Pottsgrove.
Thank you, Ms. Clifton. We can hear you.
Well, I just wanted to make sure that the sound was good. That's why I was trying to ask my question. Just wanted to,
Yes, the
Point that
volume is
out,
great.
that's all.
We can hear you and the attendees can hear you as well.
okay, so I give a statement, I guess, at the end, or can I give it now? I don't know if it covers.
We're taking public comment on agenda items. If you have a statement about something that's not on the agenda, we'll do that at the end, the second public comment. Do you have something on the agenda?
I was just worried about the policy meeting that happened earlier tonight. It was televised, or I don't know how to get to it.
We'll take that at the end and we can go after this one's, okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Go to the report of the superintendent.
Thank you. Tonight, I'd like to talk about two district goal areas. I'm very excited that we've are making progress towards our district goal. Tonight, the two that I want to talk about is first is we're making progress towards the creation of a internship program at our high school. In the coming days, our 11th grade students will have the opportunity to complete an interest survey as the first step towards enrolling in an internship program for next year. Additionally, our team has begun the process of making contact with outside industries and businesses where students will potentially serve as internships. So we're very excited about that. I did have the opportunity to attend a student council meeting at our high school and shared some details with them. And Lily, you were there. I think you can back me up. Well, how was the reaction to a potential internship program?
I thought it was great. I mean, everyone seemed really excited about it. And, we were talking to him about all the problems or solutions that we can talk about in the school and how to spread awareness to everything that we believe in.
Yeah, thank you. The other goal area that I wanted to talk about is towards our goal of increasing and improving community engagement and communication. So working with some of our team, we've developed multiple different shareholder surveys for students, parents, staff, and also for community members. I want to thank my team for some creative ideas. We're looking to get feedback from community members, not just parents, but also taxpayers in our district that don't necessarily have students in our district and aren't necessarily checking our website. So we're exploring having a survey, a paper survey, outside of the polling stations during election day. We're also looking at some partners, some other partners where we can get those forms in people's hands and get some feedback from those community members. So I'm very excited about that, and you can look forward to that in the coming days. Thank you. That's all I have.
Can I ask you a question in regards to the one about the polling stations?
Absolutely.
Are we setting it up for this election coming up?
Yes, we are. So election day is next Tuesday. So we have our poll, our survey ready. We've been in contact with the boroughs about the election laws and election rules that we have to play by, but we're ready to go. And hopefully we'll get a number of community members to actually fill out the survey and give us some feedback.
Manpower hours and cost.
It's going to be a zero cost day.
We're going to move on to action items personnel, 6.1.
Motion to combine 6.1 through 6.9.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to combine all personnel. Do I have anybody with any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 7.1.
Item 7, action items business. Item 7.1, renew sponsorship with ROG Orthodontics. The recommended action is to vote to renew the sponsorship agreement with ROG Orthodontics.
I need someone to say motion.
Make a motion, we renew the sponsorship.
I have a motion and a second to renew the sponsorship. Do I have any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item 8, action items, education. There are 3 items on the education action item. Item 8.1 is conference attendance, Orton Gillingham virtual training. The recommended action is to approve the conference attendance item as submitted.
So moved.
I have a motion and a second to approve 8.1, conference attendant. Anybody have any questions or comments on the 8.1? Hearing nothing, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Oh,
Item 8.2, another conference attendance, 2021 Safe Schools Conference. Recommended action is to approve the conference attendance as submitted.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve 8.2 conference attendance. Do I have any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. 8.3.
8.3, conference attendance, PA School Personnel Administrators. Recommended action is to approve the conference attendance item as submitted.
So moved.
I have a motion and a second to approve 8.3 conference attendance. Do I have any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Item 9, committee items. 9.1, policy committee meeting minutes. Mr. Lappick?
This is
Yeah, okay, that's right.
I need a motion though. I need a second.
Second.
I got a motion and a second to approve 9.1 committee minutes. Does any have any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, let's move on to Operations Facilities Committee.
Item 9.2, Operations Facility Committee Meeting Report.
The Operating Facilities Committee met on October 12th, and we had several items of business. First of all, there was a discussion of the transformer repairs to the high school. The main item of business was the $1.2 million surplus that happened in the previous fiscal year. The cause of the surplus is detailed in the minutes, but in summary, it is primarily the result of single shot savings resulting from COVID and various items not being expended, like transportation costs and so on. We have this $1.2 million surplus. We have to do something with it. There are two options that Mr. Limke described. The first is to move the surplus to capital reserves, and the second is to leave it in the general fund. If we leave it in the general fund, several nasty things will happen. Number one, we will have to draw the general fund back down to a certain amount dictated by the 8% threshold for unassigned fund balance. The decision was to make, at this point, no decision. There's no rushing deadline on this, and we haven't started the budget plans for the next fiscal year. So the decision was to hold off on that. Next item of business was discussion of the capital projects, and some of them were listed. And I'm just going to summarize this. 10-year capital plan. Mr. Caldwell was outlining plans for the next 10 years, including HVAC systems, new air conditioning for the middle school, and West Pottsgrove will need a new roof. And before I forget, we were told that the lower elementary, the roof repairers are back on track. So that concludes the report. Mr. Caldwell will discuss in detail his plans for the future at our next meeting. The meeting was cut short because we had an exec meeting immediately after. So thank you.
Anybody have any comments or questions? The only comment or question I have is, Mr. Caldwell, can you elaborate real quick for the public how much funds we have in our capital plan and our estimated cost of what we're thinking of the 10-year plan is?
I'm actually going to ask Mr. Linky to do the number part that was there and what was spent, and now go on from there.
Thank you, Mr. Crowell. Mr. Leach, what's currently, when we're done with the lower Pottsgrove roof, as well as the boiler project at the high school, there'll approximately be about $4 to $4.5 million left in capital reserve when those projects are done. That's assuming we don't spend any more money from that fund.
Which we will spend more money from that pot. We have already started going around doing assessments at our buildings. And as Dr. Nipper said, you're looking at a roof replacement at West Pottsgrove, which is roughly a $2 million cost. We have found some superficial and actual fracture to some of the structures to our building that I'll be asking for roughly a $2 to $3 million ask for all 5 buildings to have facades repaired and so forth. 3 of our schools have outdated HVAC systems that are in their 15 to 20 year life cycles that we should be looking at to replace those systems, and they each could be about $3 million for each school to replace those items. We have several vehicles that need the second wave of replacement over the next 3 years that can run $150,000, and various other items out there that we will lay out in a detailed report. But just what I'm just mentioning right there, you're roughly at another $10 million of right there.
And that's the reason I wanted to bring that to the attention of the board, especially Joe being brand new on the board, as in we've always looked at the 10-year capital plan as we wanted to have about 70% of the funds in the capital plan. Obviously, some of the new things we've had to do with different roofs and such like that, we've depleted that number. Now, at the suggestion of the committee at the time was to not touch the 1.2 million additional from the audit, from the money. Now, normally we do that all the time every year, but the most likely suggestion the board's going to want to make is to move that to the capital plan, but we didn't do that at the time. Not because we didn't want to do it, it's just there's no reason to do it at this time. It's better to have it available than to not have it available, because once you move it to capital, it cannot be moved to anything else. All right. That's also something that the board wants to, I know we're just starting. It's right now, it's just October. November hasn't even started. They're just starting on the next year's budget and such like that. But that is something you're going to want to start thinking about. It's a marathon, not a sprint, but the marathon is going to have to start with what numbers we're going to need in the future. Okay. Just wanted to let everybody aware of that.
Mr. Leach, could I add one other thing too? At our next committee meeting, there are about 6 projects that are still left on the table that were approved for us to bring to committee to see if we want to move forward with those repairs. One was approved, but due to bad weather and COVID, West Pottsgrove's playground macadam surface needs to be milled and repaired. And there are several other things that are on the table right now to come out of that $4 million that's remaining. In our next committee meeting, we would need to make a decision if we're going to move forward with those projects so we can go out to bid in a timely fashion to have the work be done in the summer of the 2022 there.
Okay.
Item 9.3, report of the Curriculum Integration and Technology Committee, the meeting that was held on October 19th, 2021. Ms. Custer.
Okay, let me pull up my notes here. Okay, so at this meeting, we had 3 items on the agenda. The first was some new high school courses that are introduced. All of these courses are meant to benefit the student, obviously, and they're all very well thought through, and First one was French 4. French 4 is basically just the next step for the French program that was introduced. It's hard to believe that was 3 years ago that it started. But obviously all the students that started with French in the middle school now need, or high school, I guess, need the next one. That'll be a full credit course. And then the next one was advanced 3D art. And that's another full credit course. It'll meet 6 days out of the 6-day cycle. The art department is really advancing quite a bit. We've seen quite a few more art classes being introduced, and I think that's fantastic. I'm not terribly artistic, but I've always admired those that are. And I think even those that aren't, if they want to just dabble and see what they can do, I think it's just a great opportunity to have. Next one was journalism 2. So journalism 1 was very popular. What they're doing with this one is they're actually combining journalism 1 and journalism 2 so that students who already took journalism 1 can come into the class and, almost be like mentors to those that are taking journalism 1. So it'll be a combined class, but it has been extremely popular, and it's a half credit course, so it is obviously an elective, but it's I think right now, especially anything that has to do with journalism is pretty important. For a long time, people felt that it was dying, but it's not dying. It's just taken on a whole different aspect in our lives now. The second thing the next thing was the internship program, which Dr. Finity already spoke about. The staff, administration and staff is working hard to get that up and running. They still have quite a few more things that they need to get in place before it can really take off. But they're working on it. They know what they need to work on. I think this is fantastic. This would actually be 2 elective credits, and it can really help our students get out there in the working world and get a feel for, maybe what they thought they wanted to do. And they get into that experience and they realize that it really wasn't all it was cracked up to be. Or the opposite can happen and they can get into, an internship and find out that they truly want to continue this and, either go off to a trade school for it or off to college and decide that this is truly what they want to work towards. A couple of things that they have to figure out. Will it be paid or unpaid? And that's just going to be determined by the business partners that we work with. They're also working on getting partners within the businesses and the trades and stuff to get, to take a few students on. And they'll be vetting those workplaces to make sure that they're safe and they're the right place for our students to be. And anyway, there's still a lot of work to be done, but I think it's going to be fantastic for our students. The next one was DIY art, do it yourself. It's going to look at trends in DIY art from like websites, blogging, social media, online shopping to have credit course. And it's basically how to market art. Again, I think it's great that we're offering more art classes. The next one was AP Economics. So this is actually going to be 2 classes in one. It's going to be macro and microeconomics taught in one school year. So the students that take this class have the opportunity to take 2 AP tests at the end of the year and actually get 6 credits rather than 3, if they so choose. And if they get at least a 3 on the AP tests. But they are college level classes, and I remember economics. It wasn't my, definitely not my thing. But if, we have lots of students who would want to take this, so I think that's absolutely fantastic. We then talked about the personal finance class that we have been talking about for 3-4 years, something like that. It seems forever. We've really been working towards getting a personal finance class put in as a graduation requirement. It would be a half credit class and it would be taken sometime between 9th grade and 11th grade, most likely. And we just feel it's very important for our students to graduate with at least a foundation on how to handle their personal finances, how to, how to figure out how much rent they can pay, how much, it's hard as we hear all the time, adulting is hard and finance is a big part of that. And if our kids graduate without even an idea of what they're going to face, it could make their lives very difficult. And we already do offer an elective personal finance class and another one, I forget what it's, Foundations of Finance or something like that. But this would be a graduation requirement. And so we're still working on that. We're really hoping we can get it up and running and have it being offered to the incoming 9th graders for next year. The last thing we discussed was Schoology and Power School. Mr. Strunk had asked for sort of an overview of that. So Mrs. Henry came in from the middle school and gave us all sort of a quick overview and explained how Schoology and Power School are used by parents, teachers, students, and how it just benefits everybody that it is able to use it and I guess that's it. So anyway, we adjourned at 8:25.
I have a question if I can.
Go ahead, Mr. Parker.
Thank you. The personal finance class, Ashley, so is that just an elective to a requirement? We wouldn't be adding an additional class, right? We're just changing it to be a requirement?
No, so we would slowly phase out the elective personal finance that's currently being taken by students because the graduation requirement wouldn't start until the incoming 9th grade, like the current 8th grade students come into 9th grade. So the 10, 11, and 12 students would still have the option to take personal finance as an elective. But that would get phased out. Did that answer your question?
I think so, but I'm presuming we would, we're not looking at any additional cost, teacher-wise or curriculum-wise, unless it needed to be updated anyway. It's really the same course, it's just not going to be required, I guess.
There could be an extra cost if we did need to bring in another teacher. That is all still sort of up in the air. Because with it being a requirement, then the class would have to run every period of every day. So it wouldn't be like the elective where it's, it's only offered maybe,
Right, that makes sense, right?
yeah. I don't know how often it's offered, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other comments?
Yes, I like all the courses, obviously. Anything additional that we can offer is great. I feel like we offer a lot of art and music electives, and again, it's fantastic. What I'm thinking about are the students who might be looking for something different. I don't know what that looks like. I don't really have the solution to that. Does it look like a scaled down version of the Western Center where students are taught, here's how you wire a basic circuit. Here's how you fix a basic pipe in the sink. Here's something practical that you do with your hands. Again, love all the art and music electives that we have. And I'm thinking of that. I'm also thinking of, can a student sit down for an interview? What's the protocol? Can you fill out your W-4? simple things like that. Just wondering if that could maybe be considered at some point as electives. And again, don't know exactly what it looks like. And my only concern, I have no concern with students taking personal finance. I think it's wonderful. I think we would just have to be really cautious and trust that to, the administrators checking in with this, particularly the guidance department, to say, what does this look like? On paper, it's wonderful, but how does it work practically when you make something required? Does that make the job harder to get the students what they need as far as credits? So that was it, just if we might be able to consider additional sorts of electives for students who may have interests outside of art and music.
Any other comments or questions?
Yeah, I have Tina, something Tina said made me think of something. Sorry, I know I already commented, but can we survey the parents and students, at least middle school and high school? Middle school, what would you be hoping for? The new high school students, what don't you have that you would enjoy taking? Hearing from the parents, most
Are you talking about relative to
so
the?
many.
Sorry, are you talking about relative to the? Are you talking about relative to the personal finance class or just in general?
No, just in general. I mean, I agree. I think it's a great job, the personal finance, or a great idea, the personal finance class. But, as Tina was talking, it was making me think, what else is out there that's, many students would enjoy or parents feel that is missing from the curriculum that, maybe the few of us just haven't thought of it. Just so the committee continues to look at things and plan accordingly. I just think we should get more feedback, move forward with the personal finance, but just at some point get more feedback from parents and students.
Any other comments? The only question I had for the committee is some of these programs here I see that are multifaceted, as in they could count for an elective, they could count for a social studies, they could count for a mathematics. Did the committee discuss some of these as into, let's say, for example, AP economics can be a social studies, maybe a mathematics, maybe an elective. Did the committee discuss possibly what they were going to cover them for the graduation?
We did not discuss that. And honestly, I hadn't even thought of that. So thank you for bringing that up. It hadn't been brought up at all.
Any other questions? Moving on.
That brings us to item 10, new business.
You're first. Dr. Finnegan.
None, thank you.
Bill, we'll go you next because you're online.
I'm good, thank you.
All right, so then we're going to go down. Tina,
Nothing from me, thanks.
Jay,
Nothing for me.
Joe,
I have nothing at this time. Thank you.
Dr. Nippert.
Joe, welcome to the club.
No, and Ashley. None from me, except for obviously welcome, Joe. I need a call to adjourn the meeting.
No, public comment?
Oh, that's right. Oh, we
We have two people wishing to speak and a third online.
And online, yep, that's correct. All right, so let's bring up Andy. Come on up.
We meet again. Before I begin, welcome, Joe. Thank you for your service and to everyone else as well. If my son invited one of your children to our home and I required that child to wear a mask, I could be charged with child abuse. As a born-again Christian, I'm commanded to forgive you all. God forgave me for my sins. Today, announce my forgiveness of you. I forgive you for sinning against my son and his human right to breathe fresh, clean air. I pray that he will one day forgive me for sending him to school that requires masking. Vote to make masking optional. Mr. Leach, At the last meeting, I'm summarizing, you stated that you will do everything in your power to limit the spread of an airborne virus. That's a summary. In my humble opinion, you've been misinformed about the safety and efficacy of masks. There's a preponderance of evidence that masks do nothing to slow the spread of the virus. On the contrary, there's plenty of evidence to show that mask wearing could actually be exacerbating the problem. This is true in nearby Bucks County. I sent each of you a video showing compelling data that case counts have been increasing in districts where masks are required, and districts where masks are optional, those numbers are going down. In Council Rock, Central Bucks, Penn Ridge, a physician's note is not required for students and visitors to be mask exempt. Collectively review the data and forms and vote to make masking optional. None of you are medical professionals, yet you are collectively making medical decisions for all the students and staff of Pottsgrove. You as a board are violating informed consent. There has not been any communication from the district informing parents of the dangers of long-term mask wearing. You are conducting a medical experiment without consent. Oral health is a strong determinant of cardiovascular, neurological, metabolic, respiratory, and immune health. Prolonged mask usage promotes an imbalance in the oral microbiome,
10 seconds.
causing oral disease and subsequent several other systematic diseases. Children are especially more prone to adverse effects of long-term mask usage. Vote to make masks optional. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Totella, come on. I apologize to Andy. I didn't get a chance to say your name, township and stuff. So Mr. Totella, if you could.
Good evening, everybody. Dustin Totillo, Lower Pottsgrove, 4 children in the Pottsgrove School District. I want to start thanking the Pennsylvania School Board Association from withdrawing from the National School Board Association for their outrageous claims of parents being terrorists. So I want to, and the couple school board members that emailed me back, thank you. Now I want to say, I'm going to say this from, I'm not religious. This isn't from a religious standpoint at all. Unlike Andy, I do respect the religious aspect of it, but whenever it is that we leave this place, hopefully when we're all old, we're going to have to answer to everything we've done. Everything bad I've done affected me. You guys are going to have to answer to forcing my kids still to wear a mask during their developmental phase of life when they don't wear it any other time. And I've seen people in this room whose parents, who they're for masking, and I've seen them out and about without masks. I want to move on. I'm going to move on to some of the faculty and teachers who are unvaccinated. You'd better start speaking up. You'd better start showing up. And to the teachers who are vaccinated and are not for their coworkers testing or getting vaccinated, you'd better start speaking up too. I've already got my first letter of termination at work for not vaccinating or testing. Maybe I should have brought it because it's real. Now I'm facing termination with 5 children because I won't take a vaccine or test. It's going to come to you. The masking is the first step. I don't know. Svekio, thank you for your service too. I hope you can get on our side. Maybe start talking some reason into everybody. Thank you. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you. I know we have someone online that actually wanted to discuss something about policy or other statement.
Am I on?
We can hear you, Ms. Clifton.
Okay.
Ms. Clifton, state your name and township, please.
Jeanette Clifton, Lower Pottsgrove. Okay.
Thank you. Go ahead.
All right. I'm read about this 1619 project and CRT, which is critical race theory with its many forms. It promotes racism, segregation, and victimhood. The focus should be on equal opportunity, not equal outcome. Now, my main statement. Please take all the conflicting responses from the media, government, CDC, and doctors with a grain of salt. Your own research and make sure you get as much information as possible from multiple sources of different views. Please compare information with other diseases as well. This is done by putting things into perspective. In other words, apply it to the big picture. Remember how if someone sneezed 2 years ago, you didn't feel assaulted or your life was in danger. COVID-19 has blown way out of proportion. If you actually look at the known science, you will learn the truth. Besides, there are way worse diseases out there. It seems many of you wish to live in constant fear and are afraid to live. I am not afraid to live and should be made to feel any other way. The forcing of your will to feel safe is infringing on my freedom and liberty. This is a line that should never be crossed. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other public comment, either here or online? All right, then I do have one question that we didn't discuss, but I'm going to bring up, and I'm sorry to put you on the spot there, Dr. Finnerty. Have we heard from the governor in regards to the mask mandate? Have we heard anything? I haven't heard anything.
The only update I can give you is there was argument last week in front of the Commonwealth Court. There was a petition brought by a number of citizens, I think including Mr. Corman, not our Mr. Corman, the state senator. I don't want to get too legalistic about it. It was heard before a court in Bonn, meaning the full Commonwealth Court. And they had briefing schedules, and now they had oral argument, and we don't know when they're going to issue a decision. And of course, there's still recourse for either party to the Supreme Court. But I think the governor's going to wait that out. And, I think there's going to be a court decision. I think shortly. Some people are, I shouldn't get political, are suspecting that the court won't make a decision till after next Tuesday.
Thank you. And then lastly, is for some on the public, they probably don't look at our website and such like that. Could you maybe go over how many days we've lost already on COVID?
Certainly. So on our website, if you right on the front page, you can see our towards the bottom of our front page, and I'm trying to navigate there quickly. There is a COVID dashboard that has all the information that, okay, if the internet would cooperate here, that has all the information that we have available to us, and it is updated in real time. So as we learn of a COVID case, it shows up. So currently, we have, this week, we've had 2 positive cases, and we've had 125 student days lost, just based on those 2 cases. Those are close contacts and symptomatic students. So there's a number of different categories that we have to look at as far as excluding and quarantining. Students with symptoms, students that are close contacts or known contacts within 6 feet, 15 minutes of a positive case, students that are household contacts of a known case, they fall into the exclusion practices. So that's why you see those numbers. I'm sending another blog post home to families in the next day or so that's going to share one of the ways that we could deal with symptomatic students. So the county has made a change in their health and safety direction. So students who are symptomatic but have not had contact with anybody who has COVID, so there's no reason to think they have COVID. They might have allergies, they might have a cold or something along that. We are going to be allowed, with parent permission, and I want to say that very clearly, with parent permission, we're going to be allowed to provide a rapid antigen testing in school and not have to necessarily quarantine them or send them home, just like it was 2019. So for 2019, if a student had a temperature, we would send them home, but we wouldn't have to quarantine them for 10 days. So that's something that is very encouraging. It's going to allow us to send fewer students home on quarantine and isolation, again, with parent permission. We will not be testing any student unless we have a signed permission form giving us your permission to do so. In the coming weeks, we're looking at, the word is that there's going to be additional flexibility in isolating and quarantining close contacts. So if a student who is unvaccinated or partially vaccinated is a close contact. So if you're vaccinated, you're not a close contact and we don't have to send you home. But if you're unvaccinated or only partially vaccinated, again, with parent permission, as long as you don't show symptoms, we're going to, again, this is pending board approval, the Montgomery County Office of Public Health Board approval. We're going to be able to not send you home. We're going to be allowed to test you in school with a rapid antigen test. And as long as that test is negative, we'll be able to keep you in school. So those are some encouraging things. Again, none of this happens without a signed consent form from the parent. So you can look forward to seeing that blog in the next day or so. And then we anticipate the second change from Montgomery County Office of Public Health to occur sometime in mid-November.
Thank you. And I also waited for I knew we were going to have this discussion afterwards. Where are we at with talking to the unions and such for testing here?
So as directed at our last meeting, we are prepared to make a presentation at the November meeting on what a testing protocol would look like for unvaccinated staff. So we are currently doing a survey of our staff to identify who would need to support with providing access to free weekly testing. But we'll be ready in November to present that.
Thank you. Is there any other? Giant.
Yeah. So the question was about our partnership with a giant pharmacy in being able to offer vaccinations. Those dates are still in our books. Is Mr. Dorenzo still here? Do you happen to recall those dates off the top of your head? November, thank you, sir. November 8th and November 29th. We will be hosting Giant. Again, they will be doing, the school does not vaccinate, but the medical personnel from Giant Pharmacy will be on site offering vaccinations to community members who want them. And we believe that they're going to be booster versions of all 3 shots. And if it's available, if there's an approved 5 to 11 vaccination, that would also be available. But okay.
Does that cover everything? Now we can put to an adjournment. I need a motion. Second. And we have a second and a motion to adjourn. All in favor? We're good.